We all thought this year's driver market was wild. Little did we know what was coming during the off-season for the team managers. Plenty of changes has happened during this Formula One off-season, with nearly half of the grid seeing their team principals move on. And McLaren was one of the teams that saw leader turnover. What impact will this have on McLaren's 2023 season? And will it affect Lando Norris's future with the British-based F1 team? Stay tuned to find out. Andreas Seidel, formerly of McLaren, has taken over as Chief Executive Officer at the Sauber Group, in a surprising move that will see him supervise the team's Formula One collaboration with Audi beginning in 2026. McLaren moves swiftly to fill the vacancy with Andrea Stella. Because Andrea Stella is being promoted from within the team, he has a significant edge over the other managers who have switched teams. His transfer will be nearly painless since he is familiar with all the key employees, the working procedures, the drivers, the organization's strengths and shortcomings, and so on. This also implies that there won't be many expectations placed on him to shake up the team in the same way that a new leader brought in from the outside might want to revitalize the operation. He is the continuity candidate, and his job will be to ensure that the reorganization his predecessor and CEO Brown put in place is maintained. In addition to that, it is obvious that Brown trusts him. According to the Chief Executive Officer, one of the most important requirements for agreeing to allow Seidel out of his contract 3 years early was for Stella to accept the position. Brown considered him to be the best possible option, and as a result, he has no qualms about putting him in the role of team principal. The fact that Stella has an impressive history contributes to the squad's faith in him. The engineer, who is now 51 years old, began his career in Formula One in the 2000s as a performance engineer and then a race engineer for Ferrari. In 2015, he became head of racing operations for McLaren and was quickly moved to performance director and then racing director. Not only does he have an impressive CV, but he has also gradually assumed many of the tasks of the team principal throughout the course of his career, to the point where this should be an easy next step for him. While Stella can at least count on the support of his bosses, the challenge of charting a road for McLaren's return to the forefront of the sport is going to be incredibly challenging for him. For Stella to succeed in McLaren, the team has to construct a racing vehicle capable of winning for its drivers. The performance of McLaren's first car, built at the start of this new era in Formula One, has been disappointing, which has caused the team to fall to 5th place in the constructors' standings. McLaren's drivers were not impressed with the performance of the McLaren 2022 car, especially British driver Lando Norris. When Norris finished 3rd in the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix, it was the one and only time this year he was able to claim a spot on the podium. That was a fantastic performance in and of itself, and it looks much better now that the season is over because no other driver outside the top 3 teams managed to accomplish it all year. However, the ambitious young British man is not content with that result. While he joked he must be an incredible driver to have managed it, Norris made it clear he wants to be able to make it happen more often going forward. The 23-year-old said, "A podium always means something to me. It means something to the team, but one isn't enough. One is like, we got lucky and all of this stuff. You want to feel like you deserve to be there all of the time. We deserve to be there for sure. We weren't quick enough to be there. We were way ahead of where we deserve to be, but one time isn't enough for me. It's not a good enough job by the whole team, and again, all of that is down to the car that we had." The Woking-based outfit finished 14 points behind rivals Alpine, and Lando Norris pointed the finger at the team's unreliable car as the primary reason for their loss at the Renault-backed brand. But in response to a question on his foreseeable future at McLaren, Norris said, "I have to have faith that my team can do a good job. 2024 will be our first year in which we have no more excuses," implying that he may move to another team if McLaren is unable to match his ambitions. If Lando Norris does decide to leave McLaren, maybe after a disappointing season in 2023, which F1 team will he join? Let's face it, he may not be lacking in choices or possible suitors. Looking ahead to the next couple of years, the right doors could well open. Let's take a look at the current Big 3 teams in F1. With George Russell's future at Mercedes seeming to be set in stone, any potential transfer there would be contingent on how long Lewis Hamilton decides to continue participating. Another all-British lineup would create a feeling of continuity, but it would also put Norris's relationship with Russell to the test. However, Mercedes is reportedly considering Esteban Ocon, another one of Toto Wolff's prodigies, to replace Lewis Hamilton in the future. What about Ferrari? What a hilarious twist of fate it would be if Norris were to take Sainz's position. However, this seems to be the least likely outcome of the Big 3, and unless the Spaniard or his teammate Charles Leclerc took a significant step back in performance, the Scuderia would not feel a great deal of pressure to make a switch. Red Bull, on the other hand, is a very different story. Back in February, before Norris extended his contract with McLaren, Norris said that he had small discussions here and there with other teams and that you'd probably be able to predict quite well who those teams were. Recently, he took it a step further and named them. He said there have been talks with Red Bull. They are a team that has been in the top 3 for years. Although there were talks, I felt McLaren was better for me to achieve my goals. Undoubtedly, Red Bull would still be interested in the British because of his massive progress over the past few years. but who would Norris replace at Red Bull? Of course, Norris would not replace his mate Max Verstappen at Red Bull. It would have to be Sergio Perez. There is a tension that is building up between Max Verstappen and Sergio Perez in the wake of the Brazil team orders incident. And if the two drivers cannot stay on the same page in 2023, then the overall loser is always going to be Perez. What do you think of having Verstappen and Norris on the same Red Bull team? What a dream prospect that would be for the neutrals, if not the rival teams. But despite the fact that Norris's future with the British-based team is unknown, the team has something to be thrilled about, and that is the fact they still have another F1 skilled young driver in their ranks. That driver's name is Oscar Piastri. After a dispute which went before Formula One's Contract Recognition Board, McLaren emerged with a valid contract to bring Piastri into the team for 2023, the Aussie replacing his compatriot Daniel Ricciardo. Piastri has already enjoyed time behind the wheel of McLaren machinery, testing a past car at Paul Ricard over 2 days. After that, he participated in the Young Drivers Test in Abu Dhabi, where he was given the opportunity to drive the MCL36. He also drove the MCL35M around the Circuit de Barcelona Catalunya for another private test. And Stallard divulged the information that it did not take Piastri very long to get along with the McLaren car and find out what makes it perform so well. Stallard told the McLaren website, in reference to Piastri, he is incredibly calm all of the time. He is very calm, very mature, and very unfazed. Oscar is also very adaptable, and it is very impressive how he's been able to modulate his inputs and adjust his braking and turn to get the best out of the car. He has made a lot of progress, and I think he now understands very clearly what the car needs. He has been able to deliver that very effectively, and we are very excited by that. If Piastri has indeed demonstrated an ability to get the best out of the MCL35M and MCL36, then he has already gone one step further than Ricciardo, who frequently spoke of his struggles with both cars. Therefore, if Piastri is able to acquire a thorough grasp of both vehicles swiftly and can do the same with the McLaren's 2023 car, then he will begin his first season in a highly promising position. Imagine if Lando Norris had a decent vehicle in the 2023 season and Piastri was firing on all cylinders. If this were to happen, then Red Bull, Mercedes and Ferrari would have reason to be concerned. But for us to see this fantasy become a reality, Andrea Stella must first accomplish the challenging mission that lies in front of him, which is to provide Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri with a car that can win races. What are your thoughts about McLaren's prospects of challenging the top 3 teams in 2023? Let us know in the comment section below. That will be all for today's video. Thanks for staying tuned. Please don't forget to hit the subscribe button and notification bell so that you can always get to watch more amazing videos like this. See you in the next video.